It is getting harder and harder to find a used car at a reasonable price. And this really matters because the cost of new cars in this country has never been higher. And it looks like cheap used vehicles are disappearing. Just try and find one at a reasonable price in this country. One with not too many miles on it, one that's not too many years old. And boy, it seems like it's becoming a really difficult challenge. Let's now go to Petrina Gentile, automotive journalist, as she and I will try and get you a used car at a decent price. Hi, Petrina.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. So, Petrina, just how difficult is it out there to find a used car at a reasonable price?
It is very hard. When you're looking at the market in the first quarter, 25% of used cars were sold under that $20,000 mark. And when you're looking at used car prices, Elias, the average price is $35,800, according to Canadian Black Book. That's high. Now, it is coming down, though. The peak was last March when it was about $38,000. So it's come down a little bit by about 7% or so. But that's still a lot of money to pay for a used vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not surprising because I think the cost of a new car, average cost in this country, is now at around the $60,000 mark. So that's out of the price range for, I would say, most people here right now. Things are so expensive. So what's your suggestion here, Petrina, on how you get a used car that gives you that bang for the buck?
It's really difficult. I've done searches on different auto trader sites and stuff like that. And when you're looking at these vehicles, they are pretty much, if you're looking at a vehicle under 20,000, you're looking at a 2014, 2015 model, the Subarus, the BMWs, but all of these have a lot of mileage on them. So you're looking at 100,000 to 150,000 kilometers or more. So it is tough. The numbers or the prices are expected to go down a little bit. So, I would definitely wait it out if you can. What's also frustrating as well is when you look at the new cars that are out in that subcompact category, there aren't many. There's only like 2 in Canada that are under 20,000 brand new. It's, the Mitsubishi Mirage and the Nissan Versa. There aren't even many new cars to get your hands on as well. So it's a difficult struggle. You have to really do your research and find a vehicle that is reliable. I love those vehicles, the used Civics, Corollas, they will drive for long periods of time. So that certainly helps. But it is a tough market out there now because there still are challenges.
Well, just going through the fact that, new cars under $20,000, the list is just 2. And then when you brought up the used car list and you're saying model year 2014, 9 years old is where you have to head to get under 20 grand. Boy, Petrina, when we talk about hanging on to vehicles here, are car owners right now hanging on to their vehicles longer than ever, which is why we don't see enough of them on the used car market?
Absolutely, yeah. Right now, the average person holds on to their car for about 12 and a half years. And that is a number that keeps on growing higher and higher. And cars are becoming better as well. So, you're holding on to them and they are better than they certainly were, 20 years ago when you maybe wouldn't want to hold on to a car that long. But definitely people are hanging onto them. And I recommend that as well. If it isn't broken, don't fix it, right?
Yeah.
Keep it as long as you can until the market improves. But when I, speak to analysts, it's a little bit frustrating because this is not over yet. This could be another 2 or 3 years before those prices in both the used car market and the new car market sort of stabilize again. So we're still in for a little bit of a rough road ahead.
Is there no way, Petrina, to be smart in this market? Because, you mentioned some old faithfuls, right? The Corollas and the Civics of the world, known for the reliability. And, I guess people that are in the market for a used car can quote unquote trust those vehicles here. But is there one way, I don't know if you got a tip here on brands that maybe people should be looking at that maybe don't retain the value as much as they could based on how long they do last?
The brands that don't retain their value, typically Jaguar, Land Rover, Chrysler. These are brands that sort of are at the bottom of the list when you look at JD Power studies. So I often tell people, if you are in the market for a used vehicle, do your research. So look at those reliability numbers, those dependability studies that are out there from JD Powers. Typically, your Lexus, Toyotas, Hondas usually do quite well. Look at resale values. Surprisingly, the Jeep Wrangler is one of the highest vehicles that retain their value after 4 years. Mm-hmm. I also recommend looking at the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety. They do their crash test ratings to see how a vehicle has performed in the past. So they have their ratings, dating back decades. So you can see, I want to check on the Civic or, from 2019 or 2014, and you can look up that data as well, because that's really important factor when you're looking at buying a used vehicle.
Yeah, and trying to find that sweet spot of a car that,
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the reliability ratings, are good enough to be deemed reliable, yet still maybe not commanding the price points on some of the old favorites in that category. Petrina, let's just talk briefly here at the end, and maybe a reason why used prices are going up. People on leases, at the end of the lease, they can buy the car. They can buy the car outright, or they can give the car back. And now sometimes the values are so out of whack, it makes sense to keep the vehicle here. What do you see happening here when it comes to leases, and is that impacting the used car market?
I think that's going to continue. And what I think we're going to see a lot more of are those longer lease term payments. So, typically before we always saw, 3-4 year lease payments. I think you're going to see a lot more that are 7-year lease payments, 8-year lease payments, because you have these extraordinary high prices. As you mentioned, the new price of a vehicle, average price is around $500 for a vehicle, so under $60,000. And people can't afford that. They can't afford to pay that much on a vehicle. So if you make those terms longer, then, your payments are smaller per month, but then you end up having a vehicle for, a longer time period. So it's sort of a Pandora's box that you're opening up. But I do see that happening a lot as, we enter an area of more interest rate hikes as well. So it's unfortunately, I see that the longer lease payments becoming more common, and it's not going to be great for consumers in the long run.
Petrina, sure. You do columns at the Globe and Mail where someone will send you a question and say, "Give me a vehicle," right? So let's say you got the question, Petrina, I want a car under $20,000 and reliable and not too old. What would be the one or two vehicles you would respond in a column about that?
I would definitely go used, and it would be like a Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, Mazda 3, in that 2014 to probably 2016 year range. Try to get something with low mileage. Also make sure you get the used vehicle information report from the ministry, so you know what the background is on the vehicle, if there's any liens on the vehicle, if there have been any accidents on the vehicle. So you have all that data for you as well. But those are typically, my go-to ones where I think that they're very reliable, very dependable. They typically go long periods of time as well. So you can have them up to, 300,000 kilometers in many cases if you take proper care of them.
Petrina, on the text line, I drove a Jeep Wrangler for 2 years and I sold it for $3,000 more than the purchase price. Unbelievable. Petrina, thanks so much.
Thank you.
That's automotive journalist Petrina Gentile.